Hey guys, Ningen here, bringing you another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video, and today we are going to be talking about Dragon Ball Heroes, the category, and cards that I would like to see coming up in the future. Now, this is kind of relevant for this time of year. I brought up this card, so the Great Saiyan Man 3 that came out on the Heroes banner with like Sealess, released in June last year. So we are potentially due for a new Heroes banner to come up on JP once all of the Kefla celebration and stuff is done. They're probably going to get UI Goku with part 2. Once all that stuff is done, we could potentially see a new Heroes banner, and then hopefully we won't have to wait too long to see it on Global. But obviously, you never know. So the Dragon Ball Heroes category is getting pretty decent. Like, it's got a reasonable amount of cards. Most of them are pretty good, and then some of them are obviously very, very good. And currently, the only lead, like the full lead for the category, is this Fu, who gives 130% and 3 keys. So we definitely could be seeing higher leader skills than this, although I feel like they might wait until they drop a proper Dokkan Fest, because for those of you who don't remember, on JP they did a survey a little while ago, and one of the questions was about Dragon Ball Heroes content and whether people would like to see actual Heroes Dokkan Fests, potentially even LRs, and like actual events in game, like actual like Dokkan Fest events, boss battles, that kind of stuff. Harder events, maybe things like ECAs, maybe even like a Heroes Infinite Dragon Ball History would be pretty awesome. So we're going to go ahead and jump into some a rundown of cards that I would like to see. Even though it says in the it's probably the title of this video is probably going to be top 5, but some of those entries include multiple different units, because there's a lot of different forms that get a lot more love in Heroes that we haven't really seen many characters achieve in the main series or in Dokkan so far. And I didn't want to do a single entry for each of them, because not only would that be lots of entries, but there's no real way to put them in a specific order other than, like, I guess whether I just particularly like that character the most. So it kind of made sense just to group them all together. So I just want to give a quick shout out to my boy Rhoda Matty over on Twitter. So a lot of the images that I'm going to use in this video, some of them are just taken from Google, but the actual custom cards that I'm going to show were all created by this guy. I did obviously get his permission to use them in the video, and then of course at the end, the very special one, I did commission a card myself to show at the end. So I'll put the link to his Twitter in the description, but make sure you go check him out. You can commission stuff, and his work was very, very good. I don't know how he puts the pieces together, but the images that he used on the custom card that I got are not ones that I have seen anywhere, so it's very good quality. So we're going to go ahead and jump into the list here. These aren't really in any particular order, again, even though I'll probably call the video top 5 cards I want to see or something like that, but they're not going to be any particular order. So let's jump in with the first section. Okay, so one of the things that I really like about Heroes, especially the latest like Super Dragon Ball Heroes promotional series, now we're not going to talk too much about the anime or the quality of the anime, because obviously it's very short episodes, the animation's not the best, and it kind of only exists to promote the new expansions for the card game. But the cool thing about the anime, and obviously the cards themselves for the game, is a lot of the characters that come back in Heroes from like previous movies or previous series or whatever are given a pretty cool redesign, and I think that's one of my favourite things. Like, it's cool to see characters getting forms that they didn't have before, but some of the redesigns are really, really cool. So one of the ones that I really like, just because I like the character anyway, is this Dragon Ball Heroes redesign for the Fusion Zamasu. Now, I've mentioned it before in videos like throughout the years now, but I am not a fan of the half purple, like mutated Zamasu. I much prefer the pre, like, mutation fused Zamasu. So I really like the design of this guy. I don't know what it is. I remember joking about it when the Super Boss costume came out for King on Grand Cross. But like, adding an eye patch to a character goes a long way to giving them like a badass look. I don't know what it is, but I really like the redesign of the Zamasu. He's got the cool like added like armor and stuff, and obviously in the game the way to get around sort of like the naming issues, which this is going to be a common thing. They can basically do this for like every single heroes card if they want to, is they can basically just call this guy Fusion Zamasu brackets Zeno, and then it means we can run him alongside the other Fusion Zamasu units like the Tech EZA, or obviously the transforming AGL one. It doesn't matter because he transforms anyway. So, but this would be cool. Obviously the Realm of Gods team at the moment is becoming insanely powerful, so it's not like they need any more help, but this would just be a cool unit to add in. Obviously as the fusion link, which there are a lot of fused characters on the heroes category so far, and of course remember that basically I think there's no exceptions. Every single heroes unit is also on time travelers. So one thing to think about throughout this video is if we do get a lot of these heroes cards and they make them really, really good, then in the future, especially if we get a leader that actually has a full 170 leader skill, time travelers could actually become one of the best categories in the game, depending on the kind of characters that get put into it. So we have this Zamasu redesign I really, really like, and then from the most recent series of Super Dragon Ball Heroes, I think he only debuted in the last episode. I couldn't find a lot of really good images of him, but there's a couple here taken from the anime. Obviously, like I said, the animation quality not the best, but is the redesign of Bojack I actually really like. So I've said this before, the Bojack movie is actually one of my favourite of the OG Dragon Ball movies, and I really like this redesign of Bojack. I just think he looks really cool. You can't see it in either of these images, but somebody pointed out from a screenshot, well, you can kind of see it in this first one. You can see the scar at the bottom. So the idea like has always been pretty much from Xenoverse that Fu or Mira and Toa, whoever it is in the particular example, they save these characters from the timeline that they're originally from. Often like basically when they're at the brink of death, they like save them from that timeline and bring them out. So this redesign of Bojack has a massive scar on his stomach, which is obviously where Gohan like Kamehameha punched straight through him at the end of the movie. So I think that's a cool little detail. But yeah, I like the redesign. And then this second picture is him fighting against Blue Vegeta. As you can see, the animation not the best, but he does have that very cool aura. Now we've obviously been waiting for a new Bojack. I feel like we might get a Dokkan Fest Bojack at some point. I could easily see Bojack and Super Saiyan 2 Gohan being a dual Dokkan Fest. But this guy, of course, like I said, would potentially be called Bojack Zeno, so we don't need to worry about the naming convention. And we already saw from the physical World Tournament Bojack that, you know, he could be a really, really good link partner for LR Bojack, who I still think is really underrated. Like, LR Bojack, even now, is still really good. Like, on the right team with the right link partner and some support, he can hit some pretty crazy numbers, as well as being very good defensively. So having this guy as another linking partner for him would be really good, especially if, of course, they make him a very strong unit. Then that could be a lot of fun. So I'm a big fan of the heroes redesigns of the different characters, so I would quite like to see those. I thought I'd throw this in kind of at the start because the rest of them are probably just going to be forms of characters, but I still think that the both of these are very high on my list of cards that I want to see come to Dokkan. Okay, so next up we have Zeno Trunks. Now, in the game there currently exists a couple of Zeno Trunks. There's the strike one, and then there's the physical one that awakens into the AoE. Unfortunately, this one is so old that his card is pretty bad. Key 4 and attack 5000 when HP is 80% or below is pretty terrible. It basically means that on full health, well, like 81% or higher HP, he has no passive. So obviously he is incredibly bad. So we definitely could do with a new Zeno Trunks. And Zeno Trunks is one of the main characters in Xenoverse and like Heroes. He's kind of always been that one character that ties like the Time Patrol and everything together. So the current series of Heroes does have this version of Zeno Trunks with the slightly longer hair, like tied back into a ponytail. I think that's a pretty cool design. So we could quite easily see this guy as a card. The AGL Zeno Trunks Super Saiyan that got an awakening a little while ago. His awakening made him a lot better, but he's still not great. So something that would be quite cool is if they were to release this new version of the Zeno Trunks would be to give this guy an easy A. That would be pretty cool. But I think a good way to do this particular new Zeno Trunks would be to make him a transforming unit rather than bring out like multiple different ones. Because obviously remember we got the Sealess unit who transforms into his like final form quite early on in the Heroes cards, at least for global anyway. So of course this Zeno Trunks, I'll include the images here, but this design of Zeno Trunks, you could easily have him start off as base and then transform into Super Saiyan. I think a good way to do it would be kind of like the Tech Transforming Trunks, and just have him transform into Super Saiyan on the next turn, and then give him an active skill to transform into Super Saiyan 3. Maybe just like the I guess I don't want him to be a carbon copy, but like the Tech Transforming Trunks, he could gain a load of attack power but lose defense maybe. And then of course his links would change. He could potentially drop Prepared for Battle and pick up over in a flash. So it kind of, you would want to decide in certain situations whether or not to transform him. Plus of course that means he would also be on the Super Saiyan 3 category, which is one of my favourite categories in the game anyway, but it could always use a little bit of extra love. So having this guy on the team, it'll be quite funny because there's a couple of units that transform to Super Saiyan 3 on that category now. So you'll end up being able to make like half the team of units who don't actually even start off as Super Saiyan 3, which would be pretty amusing. But yeah, this Zeno Trunks, he's one of the main characters in Heroes now, so I feel like him having a really decent Heroes card would definitely be good. Like, I know technically, I guess the design comes from Xenoverse, but it really sucks that the Zeno Trunks is on the Heroes category, so it definitely would be cool to get a solid Zeno Trunks for the category. Okay, so speaking of the Super Saiyan 3 category, now obviously with the most recent lot of Heroes cards, we got the awakenings for the Zeno Super Saiyan 3 Goku and Vegeta, and then one of the early ones was the adult Gotenks, well, teen Gotenks, I guess, and then he got an awakening Super Saiyan 3 as well. So there's been a couple of Heroes cards on here already. Zeno Super Saiyan 3 Goku is one of the best units on this category. Like, I've said it before, but he is like Dokkan Fest TUR levels of good. He is so good. And one of the things that makes him even better is he gets stronger the more Dragon Ball Heroes allies he has. Well, I say stronger, he gets better defensively, which makes him a stronger card overall. But his damage mitigation increases with the amount of Heroes cards you have on the team. So obviously on a Super Saiyan 3 team, the only one you can really bring is the Xeno Vegeta. Oh no, there's also the Trunks and the Gohan. And of course this guy, he's been unfeatured on both the Heroes banners though, so even though I went pretty hard on both the Heroes banners, I actually don't have the Team Gotenks, which is a little bit disappointing. But yeah, if we add these two guys that I'm going to mention now, you could make a full Heroes Super Saiyan 3 team as long as one of them gets a decent Super Saiyan 3 category leader skill. Because obviously bear in mind, I haven't really talked about leader skills for these units that I'm bringing in. I'm not really sure what they would give them. Like units like the Zeno Goku, they've all kind of got Dragon Ball Heroes or then their own typing 100% leads, which for non-Dokkan Fest units, I guess that seems kind of fair. But these two that we're going to mention will probably be the two most powerful Super Saiyan 3 Heroes units, I would imagine. And that is because, of course, they are, and you've probably guessed it already, Super Saiyan 3 Gogeta and Super Saiyan 3 Vegeto. So, obviously these guys, you don't have to put Zeno in their name, although I guess you could. but they're not going to conflict with any other existing versions because these guys never existed in the anime or any of the movies up to this point. They only exist in Heroes. But both of these could be excellent additions to the Super Saiyan 3 team, and then of course bear in mind that Gogeta will be on Fusions, Vegeto will be on Potara. So they'll both be very good. Gogeta has a history of his cards having Over in a Flash and Prepared for Battle, whereas Vegeto sometimes gets stitched up with his links. Sometimes he gets Prepared for Battle, sometimes he gets Shocking Speed, sometimes he gets one and not the other. So a Super Saiyan 3 Vegeto, it'd be pretty cool for him to have Prepared for Battle and Over in a Flash as well, like if they wanted to make them really, really good and fit in well on the other teams that they're on outside of Heroes. They definitely, I think, should both have Prepared for Battle and Over in a Flash. But both of these guys could be really good. Obviously, Gogeta cards have a history of having things like super effective against all types, which would be pretty cool. And then Vegetos often have counters or additional super attacks. So either of those would be very good for these guys. Obviously, these are two very popular characters. Super Saiyan 3 is one of my favourite forms. So these two would definitely be awesome cards to see. And then, like I said, they would fit really well on the Super Saiyan 3 team, but they would also fit in well on Fusions or Potara, as long as they have the right link set. So I think both of these guys could be really good. If we were going to talk about the potential of an actual Heroes Dokkan Fest, I don't know if they would ever do like a dual Dokkan Fest for Heroes. So then, I don't know, maybe like, would they do a Dokkan Fest? I guess they don't ever do Dokkan Fest banners where there's two main units. Well, they have in the past. I swear AGL Super Vegeto and Physical Broly came out on the same banner, but that's so long ago now that I think they've shown that they don't really do that anymore. But if it was just a new Heroes banner that wasn't a Dokkan Fest, these two guys being on there would be awesome. I would definitely like to see, though, if they are going to start doing that with bringing out some of these better cards. I want to see like a Heroes Dokkan Fest event. They could drop a banner with these two guys as two of the main featured units, and then drop an event where you fight both of them at the same time. And then those medals could be used to awaken them. Just because, the reason I say this is because we obviously want these units to be really good because they're very hyped characters, but if they're going to get awakenings, ideally we want them to have fierce battle and not shattering the limit. So for that, they would need to actually bring out like a Heroes Dokkan Fest to properly show off these guys in their full potential, because that 15% extra attack from fierce battle, that's how you start hitting them high attack stats, unless they have very crazy passives. So these are two units that I would very much like to see added to the game. Okay, so next up we have one that I think a lot of people have probably been anticipating. A lot of you probably will have guessed. I might have even put one of the characters in the thumbnail, I don't know at this point. But one thing that people who are a big fan of the form have often mentioned when it comes to Dragon Ball Heroes is the amount of characters in Dragon Ball Heroes that have Super Saiyan 4 versions. Now, obviously in the game as of right now, we do actually have Super Saiyans, Super Saiyan 2 and Super Saiyan 3 as categories. But of course, the way Dokkan is now, with very few Heroes units in it, in the grand scheme of things, there are absolutely not enough Super Saiyan 4 characters to make a category. Because obviously in the game at the moment, we only have the one Gogeta, and then the two different Goku and Vegetas, and then one full power Goku. So there's literally only 4 differently named Super Saiyan 4 units in the game. So you can't really have a category that you literally can't even make a full team out of. So we definitely need to start adding in some more, but fortunately Dragon Ball Heroes has a ton of options. I'm going to put a couple of them up on the screen here because we're not going to talk about them in huge detail, but Dragon Ball Heroes does have Super Saiyan 4 Gohan, they have Super Saiyan 4 Bardock, and of course they have Super Saiyan 4 Broly. I don't think this would release at the same time, but once they start dropping some Super Saiyan 4s, they also have this crazy thing. I could only find this art. I couldn't find an actual standalone character model one. For the, he's got a crazy long name that has like Super Full Power or some other thing in it as well. But this is Dark Super Saiyan 4 Broly, who also at this point in the Dragon Ball Heroes anime has like a Timebreaker mask and one of the Dark Dragon Balls embedded in his chest. So like, imagine this guy as an extreme like Dragon Ball Heroes Dokkan Fest unit. Like, he could probably be insanely powerful. And his design, I think, is really cool. Obviously, I'm a big fan of the Timebreaker mask and the various Timebreaker type stuff. But, yeah, that is... Look at this crazy, crazy beast. So, obviously, if they do this, if they add all these guys that we just shown here in varying different degrees, we need to have a leader for the category. And this is where we're going to show off our first custom card. This is a card that I think, if you ask me to bet money... Maybe not a large amount, but if you ask me to place a bet of what the first Dragon Ball Heroes Dokkan Fest will be, like the actual big Dokkan Fest summonable banner that they're going to try out to see if people will actually summon for a Dragon Ball Heroes Dokkan Fest, I think it is going to be this man right here, Super Saiyan 4 Vegeto. So obviously Vegeto sells, Gogeta sells, they are two incredibly popular units. GT, whilst people do have mixed feelings, a lot of people love the Super Saiyan 4 form. So if you drop a Super Saiyan 4 Vegeto as the first Heroes Dokkan Fest, I feel like this is a banner that a lot of people would summon on. Especially because being a Dokkan Fest, like an actual Dokkan Fest exclusive banner, they can make him really, really good. Without having to worry too much about the fact that, like, every time the Heroes banner comes back, like, people could just pull more copies of him, because you'd only be able to get him on the original Heroes Dokkan Fest banner, and then hopefully, like, later Dokkan Fests that maybe include, like, the LR Super Saiyan 4s or something, he could maybe reappear on those, because who knows how they're gonna... when they do their first Dragon Ball Heroes Dokkan Fest, who knows when it will come back on another banner, but that's something that would remain to be seen. But just think about how good a Super Saiyan 4 Vegeto could be, because we've already mentioned that Vegeto cards often get counters or additional super attacks. And then all the Super Saiyan 4s that we have in the game so far all have the ability to counter super attacks to a varying degree. Obviously Gogeta has the highest chance. Everybody else, I believe, is at 30%. But could you imagine if this guy had like a 30% chance to counter super attacks, and then also countered normal attacks as well? Like, he could easily be one of the best units in the game, as long as his passive gives him enough attack and defense that he tanks well and hits hard. Like, that would just be insane. Like, imagine him in a rotation on Super Battle Road where he just counters all the normal attacks that get thrown at him, and then you get lucky with the RNG and he counters a super attack that gets thrown at him as well. So then he barely takes any damage, he's hitting everybody back nice and hard, and yeah, I think the artwork is really cool. Both of these custom cards look great, and he would definitely be a unit that I would summon for if he came to the game. And then last but not least, we have my custom card that I mentioned at the beginning. Now, those of you that have been around the channel for a while, you know that I've actually talked about this card before. We've talked about it quite a bit on streams in the past. This is my like ideal card. If I could choose a card to be added to the game right now, where I got to design like every single aspect of the card, it would be this. So the card would start out like this. It would be Zeno Bardock, just to have him with a different name. So of course we would still be able to run either the AGL Dokkan Fest 1 or the physical LR, depending on how you wanted to run the team, like what team it was. And then he would go from this form to having this animation that is literally from one of the Heroes trailers. I'm going to put it in my overlay as if it was actually in the game. So he starts off like this, then when you get to like, I don't know, the third or fourth turn, maybe it could be an active skill, who knows, then this animation would play. And then after the animation, he would transform into this card right here and become, I guess you could call him either Super Saiyan 3 Bardock bracket Zeno, or you could just straight up call him like Super Saiyan 3 Masked Saiyan. Because either way, I guess it doesn't really matter, because he's the second part of a transformation card. So technically his name doesn't matter. He could actually transform into just Super Saiyan 3 Bardock, and he would still link with the existing one because of the way transformations work. But I guess he would always keep the Zeno bracket, just because the original card would be Bardock Zeno, which I do feel is important, because then you can use him with the other Bardock cards as well. So I think this guy would be awesome. He would be, of course, yet another card that goes on to the Super Saiyan 3 category, because he transforms to Super Saiyan 3. But yeah, like this would absolutely be my ideal card. And a big shout out to my boy Rodamati again, just because I am a huge fan of these cards. Like the art, if you Google like Zeno Bardock or Zeno Super Saiyan 3 Bardock, there's not a bunch of like really good images of him. So I'm really happy with the way these turned out. They look very good. So this would definitely be my ideal card to be added to the game. I mean, even him, like, I think even he, if they did this with the transformation, even he would be worthy, at least to me, of being an actual Heroes Dokkan Fest unit. Give him like a Heroes Leader skill of 150 or 170, and then you could even give him like a Super Saiyan 3, or even like Revenge, just to capitalize on the other Bardock category, I guess, as a sub-leader skill, which would be very cool. So there you go. That is the final one, my custom Bardock. Let me know what you think of all of the picks that I went through. Are there any that you think that I missed, that I should have mentioned, or any that you are particularly hyped to see? And yeah, hopefully we will find out sometime soon when some more Heroes cards are coming to Dokkan, because even people who aren't really fans of Heroes or fans of the like what if sort of stuff, like forms that characters didn't actually get and things like that, even if you're not a huge fan of that, like them being brought to Dokkan is good, because it's just more variety, more cards, more different possibilities for team builds and stuff like that. And obviously some of the Heroes cards that they've added so far are really good. Like Supreme Opie of Time is one of the best support units in the game. The Zeno Goku that we've mentioned is one of the best like Super Saiyan 3 units. Fu is actually really good. Like his leader skill's not the best for the Heroes category, but like on a Time Travelers team, he's a fantastic choice. A lot of strong Heroes units. So if they start adding some of these guys, this category and the Time Travelers category alongside it could become very strong. So let me know what you guys think down below in the comments section. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Master Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. You can follow me on Twitch or join my Discord. The link is in the description below, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.